Hey everybody, welcome, welcome to Hidden Horror. Thank you for spending this time with me. I appreciate that. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to Hidden Horror. Today I'm here. I want to bring you some details. Um, First off, Colin Gray and Colt Gray, they have been indicted. There was a preliminary hearing and they have received additional charges. So that's one part of it. And the other part that I want to go over, when the police went to Colt and Colin Gray's home, what did they find? What did they see? Unfortunately, I just have bad news. There were signs that indicated that there was potentially violent thoughts, what Colt Gray was into, what he was focused on, what he spent his time doing. It was really unfortunate, but it was about mass shootings. There were some writings that they found in a notebook on top of what appeared to be a shrine to mass shootings, just out in the open. It goes to question, what did dad know? How much did he know? What did he see? Did he overlook it? Was he oblivious to what was happening with Colt? Did he not ask questions? Did he not go and see these things that were out? They were out for anybody to see. Um, I believe there are always signs. I started a little series to go over information that the U.S. Secret Service that they have collected from reviewing mass shootings for the period 2016 through 2020. And one of the findings that I'm learning about from this report that they released in January of 2023, there is usually signs, there's indicators that the mass shooter will demonstrate, will show, maybe talk about, write about, tell other people their intention that they're going to do a mass shooting. So, are all of these signs being overlooked? And in this case, with this Georgia mass shooting with Colt Gray allegedly being the mass shooter, was his activities, his actions, his thoughts, were they overlooked? Let's talk about it, right? Let's get into it. So I have a couple of videos that I'm going to go over. I'm going to talk about Colt and Dad because this is really the second parent of a mass shooter that's being tried for a level of homicide. This is manslaughter charges, similar to what happened in the Oxford mass shooting with Ethan Crumbley in the state of Michigan. Now we have Dad, Colin Gray, also being charged with a level of homicide. He's the second parent in a mass shooting. It's not looking good, right? It appears that even though Colt Gray was in the physical custody of Dad, it appears that he may have overlooked some of Colt's, some of his thoughts, some of his writings, where his mindset was, where his mental health was, what he focused on, what he enjoyed, what he spent his time doing, which is looking into these mass shootings, in particular in Pacific, mass shootings like the Parkland mass shooting. Um, he didn't see them as red flags. He didn't take the step when the sheriffs knocked on his door and informed him that allegedly, possibly, Colt said he was going to do a mass shooting on Discord, right? There was a lot of warnings and unfortunately for our four victims and their families, they are the result of inaction, of failures in the system that just doesn't get it right enough all the time. Allegedly, mom called the school about 30 minutes before the mass shooting. Another sign, right? Another, moment where we need to quickly act. And it just didn't happen in this case. And it's really, really sad. Um, I'm just going to share this information with you, right? So let's get started. I'm going to talk first about the indictment because the indictment is revealing through the preliminary hearing more details, right? More details what law enforcement found, but also the mindset of our mass shooter, Colt Gray, right? What was he thinking about? What was leading up to the days before the mass shooting? What was found in the house that would show us his mindset, what he was thinking about, what was he doing, what was he involved in, right? I think I think we have to acknowledge that several things was operating at the time in Colt Gray's life. One, his parents were not together, they were separated. I think that is a big factor. Um, Another big factor, I think, is allegedly the parents were having issues. They were having arguments in front of Colt Gray. I think that's another big factor. I think another big factor is some financial struggles. I'm really learning by going over the U.S. Secret Service report, some things that could be indicators that can be indicative before these mass shootings happen. Some of the behaviors, some of the circumstances, and one thing is that financial stress. I know in the video, a few videos ago that I showed, Colin Gray did say, that's dad, they were going through some tough times. They had been evicted. They were kind of struggling. That was very hard for them. A fourth indicator, fourth thing that I see that I'm noticing is uh, something that dad said in that video when he was talking to the sheriffs. There appeared to be some bullying going on, some pressure being applied. They said that he was touched by the people that were harassing Colt at school, and that he had to go up to the school all the time. That is a factor. I think we have to acknowledge that there could be some other issues, because I saw a huge transition from 3 years ago when I see pictures of Colt Gray, and now I noticed it when he was arraigned, that when he was sitting in the chair, it almost appeared from the back that he could be a female. His hair was long, it was blonde, it was cut as if it was a woman style. And I was thinking, could there have been possibly some issues, possibly with transgender? Um, could there be some issues with identity? Maybe you're getting harassed or bullied even more, um, because of your choices or decisions or your appearance, things of that nature. So um, I want to acknowledge all of those things, because I think if you have a child and they're looking at more of these darker things like the mass shootings, you definitely shouldn't buy them a pow pow. Absolutely not. But also, maybe it's time to sit down with them, try to talk to them, try to figure out, what are their needs? How can you help them? What can you do with the school in tandem with home to try to make things better, to try to address some of those issues or challenges, particularly because there's some financial stress, there's a separation. Um, Allegedly, was some issues going on with mom as well. There was a lot going on in Colt Gray and Colin Gray's life at this time. And I think some of it can be contributed to how he led up to this mass shooting. It appears that he had been planning it at least since the 7th grade. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of thought. I'm sure with researching and looking into mass shootings, he gained knowledge, he gained information, he took ideas. He saw what happened in prior mass shootings. He looked up other mass shooters to learn about them. And I think before he ever did the mass shooting, he really investigated how he wanted to do it. He planned it out. He wrote it out. He drew it out. Um, I don't know how much he talked to others. I know the allegations from Discord, but as far as if there was any friends that knew and things like that, that would be interesting to know. So anyway, let's get started with the article. The article is coming from CNN.com. The writer is Malika Callaghan and Devin M. Sayers. It's dated October 17th, 2024, and is titled Georgia School Shooter and His Father Indicted on New Counts in Apalachee High School Killings. A Georgia grand jury indicted a father and son on murder and other charges Thursday in the mass shooting at Apalachee High School in Winder, Georgia, last month that left 4 people dead and another 9 injured. Colt Gray, 14, was indicted on a total of 55 counts, including 4 counts of felony and malice murder, plus aggravated assault and cruelty to children. His father, Colin Gray, was indicted on 29 counts, including 2 counts of second-degree murder, 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter, and multiple counts of second-degree cruelty to children and reckless conduct. Thursday's indictment adds additional charges to the case. Last month, Colt Gray was arraigned on 4 counts of felony murder, and Colin Gray was arraigned on 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 2 counts of second-degree murder, and 8 counts of cruelty to children. The indictment charges Colt Gray with felony and malice murder and states that he committed the crimes with forethought. That means that there was some preparation, there was some planning, there was some effort done before the mass shooting to carry out the mass shooting, right? The document accuses Colin Gray of criminal negligence and cruelty to children in the second degree by allowing his son, a minor, under his custodial responsibility, access to a firearm and ammunition after receiving sufficient warning that Colt Gray would harm and endanger the bodily safety of another. They're saying that he should have known. They say he's criminally negligent because he had the custodial responsibility to ensure that Colt Gray did not have access to a weapon and the ammunition because he was told, he was informed. When those sheriffs came and they knocked on the door back when Colt Gray was in the 7th grade, that was the initial information. Sir, let us let you know. We are talking to you. We are informing you of this information. That was the first time. Okay? Colt Gray is accused of fatally shooting Two 14-year-old students, Mason Schermerhorn and Christian Angelo, and two math teachers, Richard Aspinwall and Christina Irami, on September 4th. 8 students and 1 teacher were wounded. The teen will be tried as an adult, and the charges against his father push the boundaries of who is responsible for a mass shooting. Who do you guys think is responsible? Is it the parent if they're negligent? If they give their child access to a pow pow? If they purchase their child that has mental issues, that is unstable, that makes threats, has threatening behavior or actions, are they responsible? Are they responsible when they don't give their child that mental health resources? They're not doing enough to ensure that their child is safe to be around others. Who's responsible? Something to really think about. The case marks just the second time in America a parent has been charged in connection with a mass shooting by a minor. After Jennifer and James Crumbley, the parents of Michigan school shooter Ethan Crumbley were found guilty of involuntary manslaughter and sentenced to 10 to 15 years in prison. They both were sentenced earlier this year, the Crumbleys, James and Jennifer Crumbley, for 10 to 15 years for involuntary manslaughter. Investigators testified Wednesday that Colin Gray knew of his son's deteriorating mental state and his fascination with campus shootings ahead of the rampage. At a preliminary hearing, chilling details were revealed about what was found in the Gray home on the day of the shooting, including a notebook containing drawings by Colt Gray depicting stick figures with wounds. Shoot the teacher first was written next to the images. A note found in the home's gaming room read, "Forgive me, it is out of my control. See you." Investigators said clues in the home pointing to potential violence were overlooked or not sufficiently addressed. Colt had made a shrine to school shootings, which included at least one photo of the Parkland, Florida shooter, according to Georgia Bureau of Investigation Special Agent Kelsey Ward. I have some videos too that I'm going to do after the article, but I'm just processing this information that a child would have the ability to build a shrine acknowledging mass shootings and the mass shooters. And nothing is said or done about it or questioned about it. Investigators testified Colin Gray was in touch with school staff in the weeks before the shooting about his son's need for counseling and sent in a form, but failed to follow up and ensure his son made appointments. A school counselor said Colin Gray indicated he may not be able to afford the care. What can we do, right? What can we do in situations like this? There is a need that we have available to people, to the public, mental health counseling. We need more resources. We really do. We need them in schools and we need them outside of schools and not just over the phone. Some people need to go in and sit and talk to someone. Colt Gray also sent concerning text messages to his parents minutes before the shooting, and while his mother, Marcy Gray, called Apalachee, pleading for staff to find her son, Colin Gray did not call. When deputies showed up at his home, Colin Gray did not appear remorseful, Ward testified. In May of 2023, law enforcement questioned Colt and his father about online threats to commit a school shooting. The FBI has said Colt at the time denied making the threats, and his father told authorities his son did not have unsupervised access to hunting guns in the house. Just 7 months later, the suspect's father purchased the firearm allegedly used in the mass shooting as a holiday present for his son, two law enforcement sources told CNN. On the day of the shooting, the 14-year-old was allowed to leave the classroom with his belongings before returning with a rifle in his backpack, the State Bureau of Investigation said at the time of the incident. He had brought the pow pow with him on the school bus with something wrapped around it as if it was a school project, Barrow County Sheriff Judd Smith told CNN affiliate WXIA. The school did not have metal detectors, according to authorities. There's so much that I want to unpack, and I'm going to take it in pieces. But I have one other article to read because it goes into a little bit more detail about what was found at Colt and Colin Gray's home. So I want to go over that article. It's also by CNN. It's dated October 17th. And it's titled, Father of Georgia School Shooter Knew of Son's Deteriorating State, say investigators who found notebook with disturbing drawings. This is by Cindy Von Quetno and Phil Gast. So I'm going to read this one a little bit quicker. Colin Gray, the father of the teenager accused of killing 4 people at a Georgia high school, knew of his son's deteriorating mental state and his fascination with campus shootings. Investigators testified Wednesday during a hearing that elicited troubling new details of what led up to the rampage. Chilling details were revealed at a preliminary hearing for Colin Gray about what was found in the Gray home on September 4th, the day of the Apalachee High School shooting, including a notebook containing drawings by Colt Gray depicting stick figures with wounds. Shoot the teacher first was written next to the images. So we're going to talk more about the preliminary hearing. I told you I would bring that for you, so we're going to talk more about that. Prosecutors called investigators to the stand in a Barrow County courtroom to buttress their contention the father bought his son the weapon used in the shooting as a Christmas gift and continued to buy accessories, a tactical vest, and ammunition despite knowing his volatile son was dealing with anger and anxiety. Investigators painted a picture of a home where clues pointing to potential violence were overlooked or not sufficiently addressed. Georgia Bureau of Investigation Special Agent Kelsey Ward said Colt made a shrine to school shootings, including at least one photo of the Parkland, Florida shooter. And a note found in the gaming room said, "Forgive me, it is out of my control. See you." Ultimately, a magistrate judge ruled there is enough probable cause for Colin Gray, who was shackled and wearing an orange and white jail jumpsuit, to stand trial for the charges against him: 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 2 counts of second-degree murder, and 8 counts of cruelty to children. The case marks just the second time in America a parent has been charged in connection with a mass shooting by a minor. Former federal prosecutor Jeffrey Toobin said CNN has reached out to Colin Gray's attorney for comment. They called no witnesses in the hearing, but did question the investigators about statements indicating Colin Gray did file a school form asking for help for Colt. Colt Gray, 14, meanwhile, will be tried as an adult. Authorities have said he faces 4 counts of felony murder. He told investigators, "I did it," while being questioned. Barrow County Sheriff Judd Smith previously told CNN. Ward testified Colt Gray detailed in notebooks his plans for what he intended to do at Apalachee High School. During an interview after the shooting, which left 9 injured, Colin Gray described in detail about time spent trying to get his son involved in a hobby he enjoyed, hunting and shooting. Drawings and notebooks found in the home detailed how Colt Gray would carry out a shooting using stick figures that would end in his death by suicide, investigators testified. The teen left letters in his gaming room in plain sight, telling his parents it's not their fault and asking for their forgiveness, Ward testified. Colt Gray described himself in the notebooks as being depressed, delirious, and eager to die. Of the shrine, Ward said newspaper clippings of mourning students and Parkland school shooter Nicholas Cruz were mounted with thumbtacks on a wall. When Colin Gray asked his son who that was, Colt Gray explained, and the topic was dropped after that. Ward testified during an interview with Colt Gray's mother, Marcy Gray. She said her son made joking comments about school shootings and had asked his father to buy a shooter mask because he had to finish up his school shooter outfit. Marcy Gray said her son's fascination with guns had gotten very bad, Ward testified. Investigators testified Colin Gray was in touch with school staff in the weeks before the shooting about his son's need for counseling and sent in a form, but failed to follow up and ensure his son made appointments. A school counselor said Colin Gray indicated he may not be able to afford the care. Colin Gray had filled out and submitted a form for school counseling after a campus official expressed concern, but Colt Gray did not show up to school on those days for counseling leading up to the shooting, Ward said. So he didn't even go to school. He didn't go to school on the days that the counseling would happen. And this was leading up to the shooting on September 4th. He didn't go. He didn't go. Additionally, Colin Gray did not follow up with counseling services offered by an outside organization. When asked about it, Colin Gray said it was a matter of getting his insurance sorted, Ward said. The Grays intended to take Colt Gray to counseling service in Athens, Georgia, but an argument the day before between his parents led to those plans falling apart, Ward said. You're arguing about the wrong thing when the focus needs to be on the child. On the day of the shooting, Colin and Marcy Gray received concerning text messages from Colt sent just minutes before the first shots were fired. Colt allegedly texted his father, "It was not his fault, and I'm sorry," to his mother. And while Marcy Gray called Apalachee, pleading for staff to find her son, Colin Gray did not call. He didn't call the school. Colin Gray received texts from his younger daughter saying her middle school was on lockdown. After becoming concerned, Colin Gray went home early from work, turned on the TV, and saw the shooting had taken place at his son's school. When Barrow County Sheriff's deputies showed up at his door that day, Colin Gray said in a not very surprised manner he had received a text from his daughter and said out loud to the deputies, "God Almighty, please tell me that your brother didn't do something," Ward testified. Colin Gray did not appear remorseful after the deputy showed up, Ward testified. During a separate interview, Colin Gray told Ward Colt had the rifle in his room, propped up against a guitar in the corner for a week leading up to the shooting. It was no longer there when he had returned home from work. Yeah, because he used a rifle in the mass shooting, allegedly. That's why it wasn't there. Because he allegedly used the rifle that you purchased him as a Christmas gift. That's why it wasn't there. Okay, so let's move on. I want to let you know that on the Hidden Horror Facebook page, I have provided 4 parts to the preliminary hearing of Colin Gray. So I'm only going to go over the very end of the preliminary hearing where the judge says that there is enough evidence. Probable cause is like a very low standard, and the judge said there is enough evidence here to hold Colin Gray over for trial for these charges. So I'm only going to play that small amount, but I have added the 4 parts on the Hidden Horror Facebook page. Please, you can check the preliminary hearing out if you're interested in the testimony. Mr. Gray does not testify, and also his defense, they do not call any witnesses. They do question some of the prosecutor's witnesses, but Mr. Gray does not testify on his own behalf, and they really don't have a lot of questions. But if you want to hear from the detectives and hear what was found and things like that, that's what's going to be found in the preliminary hearing of Colin Gray. And it's 4 parts, okay? All of the parts are linked on the Hidden Horror Facebook page. Please like, share, and subscribe on the Facebook page so you will have the ability to kind of see when things are posted and get these updates, right? And plus, I need 100 people to go back live on Facebook. So I think I'm at about 29 now. So I need another 71 people, but let's go to some of these videos, right? I have 3 videos to share. So the first video, we talked about it already, but I want to go over it again. So there was some testimony that there was a shrine to these mass shootings / mass shooters at the Gray home. So there's a short video on that. It's about 1.5 minutes long. This video is provided by KVUE, and it's titled "Georgia High School Shooter Has Shrine Inside Home, Court Documents Reveal." So let's watch that video.
We are learning more about the teenager accused in a deadly school shooting in Georgia. Court documents now reveal a shrine in his home, raising more questions about what his father knew and when. ABC's Andrew Dimbert has more.
This morning, chilling new details about the Georgia school shooting that left 4 dead last month. Investigators claim the shooter wrote a meticulous plan in a notebook, listing locations in the school to target, even detailing what he would wear.
We do know from detailed notebooks that he had written in about his plan for the shooting that he had intended on wearing that vest.
Revelations came during a probable cause hearing for Colin Gray, the suspect's father, who also faces murder charges. Prosecutors say he was aware of his son's deteriorating mental health and of his fascination with mass murder. They described a shrine the teen allegedly made to school shootings in their home, which included pictures of Parkland, Florida school shooter Nicholas Cruz.
He stated that originally Colt had a picture of some rock-related individual hanging on the wall, but that picture had been taken down and the picture of Nicholas Cruz had been hung where that picture was on the wall.
The teen allegedly came to school with his long gun wrapped inside a poster board to look like a school project. Before opening fire, police say Colt texted his parents that he was sorry. His mother says she warned the school after getting that message.
Between my gut feelings, the text messages, y'all need to go, run to the classroom.
Andrew Dimber, ABC News, New York.
Mike Rogers said he...
Okay, so that was the first video. I want to share that one. And again, they're saying that the shrine was on the wall, that anybody could see it, that the investigators that went to the home on the day of the mass shooting, September 4th, they saw that. So why isn't Dad responding? Why isn't he appropriately responding to that? You know, that's behavior that's overlooked. Again, some will say red flags, right? Let's go to the next video. So let me share my screen. So again, there are 4 parts that were provided by 11 Alive on YouTube. And if you like watching these preliminary hearings and you want to check them out, I would really encourage you to do that. You can subscribe also. This one is part 4 of the preliminary hearing. And again, I'm only going to play the last about 3 minutes because the hearings in total are probably about maybe between 1.5 hours and 2 hours. So I'm not going to sit here and watch them all with you, but I encourage you, if you want to hear the details from the investigation and the work that was done, and you want to hear the testimony from the preliminary hearing. Again, Mr. Colin Gray doesn't testify on his own behalf, and they don't have any witnesses that they put on the defense side. They do question the detectives, the investigators, but they don't put on any witnesses. But it's still worth a watch. You know, if you like watching things like that. I do. I personally like watching the preliminary hearings, so I'm going to watch them all. So I'm going to now share these last about 3 minutes with you.
We have no witnesses, Judge, and we'll submit.
Okay. Any argument?
Just basically,
We're
Your
going
Honor,
to submit, Judge. No reason to argue.
Mr. Smith, did you have anything?
I was just going to explain the charges, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
The 4 involuntary manslaughters in the commission of an unlawful act that caused the death of another human being. 4 human beings have been stated in the warrants, Your Honor. And the unlawful act that we're alleging is the reckless conduct that a person who causes bodily harm to or endangers the bodily safety of another person by consciously disregarding the substantial and unjustifiable risk his or her act or omission will cause harm or endanger the safety of other persons. And the disregard constitutes a gross deviation from the standard of care which a reasonable person would exercise in the situation. That would be reckless conduct, Your Honor.
So I just want to pause it here. He said that standard of care that a reasonable person would have. You know, they're not asking you to be a mind reader or go above and beyond. What would a reasonable person do? What should you do if you see these type of red flags or signs? If your child is struggling, if they're having these thoughts, they're depressed, they're thinking about, you know, hurting someone, hurting themselves. Again, allegedly, Mr. Colt Gray was going to end it in a suicide, but that didn't happen. Um, because remember, this is all in their fascination, in their thoughts, and what they're thinking could happen. They're playing it out, they're planning it out, but it may be hard for a person to unalive themselves. So that didn't happen in this case. But that was something that was planned. Do you spend time with your child to see how they feel, to know their thoughts, know their feelings, to recognize if something is wrong? This, for example, the shrine was in plain sight. Was the notebook in plain sight? Was there any talk of this in the home? When the sheriffs came to the home in May of 2023, what was done? What help was provided? What resources were sought out? Did he attend any therapy, any counseling? Was the subject brought up? All of that plays into what led up to the mass shooting. We need to know those details because someone has to be accountable and responsible for what happened at the high school. 4 people are deceased, others are injured, and not just the injured, but people, this causes trauma for people, nightmares, PTSD, all kind of negative impact on this community, on the school, on the teachers, on the administrators. So we have to hold people accountable for the actions and inactions as well. Okay.
Precipitates the involuntary manslaughter. The murder in the second degree is based on cruelty to children, Your Honor. A person commits murder in the second degree when the commission of cruelty to children in the second degree caused the death of another human being. Those would be the 2 children that were listed in the warrants, Your Honor. And the person commits offensive cruelty to children in the second degree when such persons with criminal negligence causes the child under the age of 18 cruel, excessive physical, or mental pain. Criminal negligence is defined as an act or failure to act, which demonstrates a willful, wanton, or reckless disregard for the safety of others who might.
I just want to pause it for a second. So it's not just to act, but it's also the failure to act. Again, you have mom, she's calling the high school, she's calling Apalachee, she's getting them on the phone, she's informing them of what she feels is possible, what may happen. Dad didn't do that. Dad also had the primary custody. Colt lives with dad. Is he overlooking again Colt's behavior? Because allegedly, when a child lives with the parent, they have more eyes on the parent, they have more access to see, to be tipped off that something is wrong because they're spending more of their time with them. I think possibly this overlooking is maybe something that was going on in the household. And again, you have to look at all of the other factors, all of the other parts playing into this household, the finances, the bullying, the eviction, the trauma of it all, the separation between spouses. You're not living with your sibling now. All the things that's happening in their lives, it does play a role. It really does.
Reasonably expected to be injured thereby. In this case, Your Honor, he had primary custody of Colt. He had knowledge of Colt's observations with obsessions with school shooters. He had knowledge of Colt's deteriorating mental state, and he provided the firearms and the ammunition that Colt used in this attack. So we asked the case to be back over.
Thank you.
And that's also an important piece. Dad had more access because he was the primary custodial parent, but also dad purchased the pow and the ammunition and didn't secure it, didn't separate it, never took it out of the home when all of these challenges were going on. It's an excellent point.
Mike Rogers said,
I gotta wanna quiet it and then I'll try to go back to where we were. My apologies. There's a lot of ads now. and they pretty much force you to watch them. So now I can skip it. Okay, so I'm gonna go back, try to catch up back to where we were. We'll stop about maybe here.
So we asked the case to be passed over.
Thank you. All right, first of all, I just want to thank everyone that's here today. I appreciate your grace and the way you have handled yourself in this courtroom today, all the parties involved. So thank you very much for everything that you've done today. Based on what I have heard, the court does find that the state has met the probable cause standard on all the warrants as written, and they'll be transferred to the Superior Court of Bexar County for trial. Thank you. We'll have a copy of this for each party, and if anyone else wants a copy, we'll be happy to provide that.
Okay, so they're saying that the state, the prosecutor's office, they've met their burden, they've met their probable cause burden, and now they're going to hold them over for these additional charges. So they're definitely moving forward with the case. I want to do one last video that's going to include pretty much everything I've talked about today. So this will be the last one. So thank you for your patience. This video is provided by Fox 5 Atlanta. It's titled Colt Gray, Colin Gray indicted in Apalachee shooting. And it's right under 3 minutes.
Each faces dozens of charges as prosecutors say they try the father-son duo separately. Fox 5's Eric Perry joins us from outside the Barrow County Courthouse. Eric, a lot of new details coming out of this case tonight.
Yeah, Courtney, Tom, we actually saw 2.5 hours worth of witnesses and testimony before that grand jury. We talked with the district attorney there. 55 charges for Colt Gray, 29 for his father, Colin Gray there. This is probably the biggest case Barrow County has ever seen, and especially a case with this many witnesses and victims.
Everyone in America will look at what is happening, look at the facts when they come out, especially at trial, and realize the things that we can do individual level to stop this violence from happening.
That's Barrow County District Attorney Brad Smith moments after a grand jury handed down a laundry list of indictments for both Colt Gray and his father, Colin Gray. Colt is the alleged gunman in the September mass shooting at Apalachee High School. He faces 55 counts.
4 counts of murder, 4 counts of felony murder, 4 counts of aggravated battery, 25 counts of aggravated assault, 18 counts of cruelty to children in the first degree.
Colt's father, Colin Gray, faces 29 charges ranging from second-degree murder, second-degree cruelty to children, involuntary manslaughter, and reckless conduct.
I want to pause here. I think some of those charges are based on the students where Colt allegedly went into the classroom and shot. Those other students that are alive because of their trauma, I believe that those additional charges were made due to their trauma, in my opinion. Those additional charges was due to the trauma, possible PTSD, anxiety, stress, all of that from seeing the mass shooting in front of them.
As Smith says, he saw the warning signs but took no action. In fact, went a step further in buying Colt a gun for Christmas. Smith says there is a total of 25 victims, 2 teachers, 2 students killed. The 21 others were either physically injured or emotionally.
For the 14 victims who were not physically injured, 13 were inside a classroom that Colt Gray went into and fired indiscriminately in that classroom. 1 was in a hallway that Colt Gray pointed the firearm at, but was not struck.
As this will undoubtedly be the biggest case Barrow County has seen, it also shines a light on parents who could be held legally responsible for their child's actions.
We hope this can start the process of healing for the community. The charged victims we have are the ones that the crime was actually directed towards, but every person, every kid in that school was a victim.
Yeah, he went on to say those people in those nearby schools locked down were victims. The parents were victims. Also, this community victims as well. Giving you a little bit more color inside of that grand jury hearing, we saw from 2 GBI agents. We also saw from a detective with the Barrow County Sheriff's Office and an advocate for victims with the District Attorney's Office. We are expected to see Colt and Colin Gray for their arraignment. We know that date, November 21st. That's the latest outside the Barrow County Courthouse. I'm Eric Perry, Fox 5 News.
You can imagine those families are happy to see this case moving forward. Eric, thanks.
Okay, so I'm trying to lay out this information for you. What I really want to turn my attention to for just maybe like 2 minutes, I want to talk about prevention. I thought it could be helpful if we share the information that was uncovered in the U.S. Secret Service report from January of 2023 about these type of mass shootings. So I want to show you where you can find this new small little collection that I started. It is a resource that I am personally taking the task of going through, and it's going to be huge. I've already put down 3 parts, but it's going to be huge because I'm going to highlight different parts of it to help ensure that we know what are some of the red flags, what are things we can see, we can identify before we get to a mass shooting incident. How can we prevent these mass shootings? How do we keep our children, our teachers, our workplaces, our businesses safe, right? Because mass shootings, they happen everywhere. They can happen at a mall, they can happen at a school, they can happen at a business, they can happen out in public, right? So I just want to, I'm going to take you to the Hidden Horror Facebook page because I really want people to know that there is information out there, and I'm doing the legwork of detailing it and reading through it. It's a huge report, and they put a lot of work into it, but it's helpful, useful information. So I'm going to share my screen. This is the last thing I'm going to do. Let's see. I'm going to go to the Hidden Horror YouTube page. So this is behind the scenes where I see my videos. So this is the Hidden Horror. This is what it looks like. If I go to playlists right here, I have different playlists, and one of the playlists is going to be this new series. And the series is titled, I'm trying to find it. Did I pass it up? Let me see, did I get them all? The series is titled, here it is. It's titled Improving School Safety Through the U.S. Secret Service Report. They provided this resource for prevention. So I've done now 3 parts. However, I don't know how long it's going to take me, but I'm trying to keep these videos at about 30 minutes long. I don't know why saying part 3 is upcoming. I thought I did 3 parts, but whatever. My whole point is, I want you to know there are resources out there that can help us, help the community. We have to share this information. It informs us, right? It lets us know what are some of the things we can look for, and we can take that information and apply it to our situations, whether we're teachers, whether we're managers, whether it's just useful information that you can help and explain to your kids or co-workers, or if you're in a management position, your staff. So I'm going to continue that, but this is why when I do cases like Colt Gray and Colin Gray or other mass shootings, I just did a video on Andre Gordon, right? So there's been a lot of violence, and we have to find ways to prevent, to stop, and to eliminate this violence. And that report is going to help us. We're going to take those resources and apply them, share them, and hopefully reduce the amount of violence in our community. So I just wanted to show you that. And I want to thank you for spending this time with me. I really, really appreciate it. I want you to stay smart, stay safe, stay savvy, be well, all my friends. Take care, everybody. Bye.